Hi everyone! Welcome to Singing Tips. If it's your first visit, this is where you will find in-depth opera, aria and classical song tutorials. If it's not your first dance with me, then welcome back. I am a vocal coach and professional singer and teacher of singing, and I've had a very extensive career, and the idea behind the channel was really to provide as much detail in some of these well-known songs and arias so that really anybody who loves to sing can have a go. Today's aria, by popular demand, is the wonderful Habanera from Carmen. I've really kind of had to get my big girl pants on today to do this aria. It's been requested a lot on the channel. It's not an aria that I've ever really sung. It's really a mezzo aria, but really anybody can have a crack at this one. It's got such huge, wide appeal, and it's such a fun song to sing that really, regardless of your voice type, I would say just have a go at this one. It's really fun to sing something in French, and stick with me for the whole tutorial because I'll give you heaps of tips, pronunciation, all the things that you need to have a crack at this, and maybe sing it for friends and family or some other occasion that crops up in your life. This is Carmen's first aria that she sings. It's the first time we see her on stage, and it really is her introduction to herself and what makes her tick. If you don't know the story of Carmen, it's a very tragic story. She lures an innocent man into her kind of romantic trap. She's a very difficult, unusual character, and he gives up everything for her, and then she discards him. She's a bit like a cat playing with prey. That's how she always strikes me when I think of Carmen. And he then, she gets murdered at the end on stage. And at the time, it was terribly shocking to Parisian audiences. Its first performance was 1875, and it was a very scandalizing opera because of the overt sexuality of Carmen herself, and for the onstage murder that occurs at the end. So here we are with our tutorial. As always, please like, subscribe, do all the things that keep the algorithm happy, and a tiny little financial contribution if you wanted to join as a member will also keep me very happy, and you'll get a few extra perks and benefits if you do that too. French is a tricky language to sing in if you haven't learnt any French. I was lucky that I did some at school, but not everybody has tackled anything in French, but it's not a reason not to have a go. It's a really fun language to sing in, so I'll be going through the pronunciation when we do the technical section. Always have a little look on YouTube or wherever, because you'll find a native French speaker speaking and singing possibly this text for you, so that will give you some of the finer intricacies of the pronunciation, but we will go through that in a second. For now, it's really important to know what you're singing about as well. Love is a bird, a rebellious bird that no one can tame, and it is in vain to call the bird. If he wants to refuse, nothing will make him do what you want him to do, nothing, neither threat nor prayer. Then she goes more into the man that she likes. She says there's one that speaks well, but the other one is silent, and I find it's the other one that I prefer. She's actually talking about Don Jose there. He did not say anything, but I like him. And then we have the l'amour, 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 love, love, love. And then the second verse, love is a bohemian child. He never, never knew a law. If you do not love me, I love you. If you do not love me, beware. And then there's the same repeated bit of text again. And then finally, the bird that you thought surprised battled the wind and flew away. Love is far away. You can wait for it. You do not expect him anymore. He is here and around. Fast, fast, he comes, goes, comes back again. You think you hold him, but he evades you. You think you're evading him, he holds you. So it's all about the contrary nature of love. I should just mention speed. So in a tutorial, I tend to go at what I call learning speed, which is slow enough that your brain can process information, and that's slow enough for me to process information as I'm going along as well. The speed that's marked in my score is crotchet equals 72. So if you haven't got a metronome, if you just put in 72 BPM into Google, it will play you a metronome going dink, 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 and give you the speed. It's actually really quite fast, so we're not going to go anywhere near the recommended speed that Bizet wanted at this point while we're learning, but maybe we'll speed it up a little bit when we get towards the sing through. So what I'll do first is just tackle the first couple of phrases, and I'll speak the text to the rhythm. So we've got 1, 2, 1. L'amour est un oiseau rebelle que nul ne peut apprivoiser. So that's your pronunciation. L'amour est un oiseau rebelle que nul ne peut apprivoiser. So there are some anomalies in French that are really specific to French, and that's sometimes the words elide into one another and sometimes they don't. So that's just something that you can either learn the rules for, or you can just do it by ear. And I would say if you're just learning this for fun, just listen to recordings and just copy really what I'm doing, rather than getting yourself bogged down with trying to learn all the rules about which consonants you say and which you don't. Now then, the next thing is just be very, very short of your rhythm. So you've got the triplet rhythm. 1, so est un oiseau, the 3 notes in the time of 2 quavers, just in that second bar there. And pitch the L of l'amour on the D. And I would breathe the whole bar before you start singing. So I'd be breathing 1, 2, 1. L'amour est un oiseau rebelle que nul ne peut apprivoiser. Peut appri is one of the ones that elides. What else can I tell you about that? I think it's good to know where your tones and semitones are, but if you're not that musically inclined, that's probably a little bit too more detailed than you want to be. But this opening is all semitones or half tones. Until we get to there, between N and P is a tone. Ne peut apprivoiser. But all of that bit is all semitones. So they're the smallest intervals between notes. And when you're singing descending semitones, it's really easy to go flat. So just keep thinking nice and bright, and make the steps really small as you descend so that you don't get wider and wider with the steps and end up just getting a little bit on the flat side. So here we go again. going to grab your breath after rebelle, big breath, and then after voiser, because you've got to rest there. Then your next phrase, et c'est bien en vain qu'on l'appelle, si lui convient de refuser. So some of those French U sounds, if you make an U shape with your mouth, let's say E, you get the right sound for the French U. So make the U shape and say E. U, U, U. So you get the right sound in a slightly manufactured way, but it gives you the sound that you're looking for. And it's such a specifically French sound that you actually do want to make that sound in the right places. So, and that's one actually. C'est lui quand... Oh, I've gone into the wrong key. C'est lui qu'on vient de refuser. So lui is that U sound, and refuser is the same U sound. So that's where, and I mark it as I draw a circle to remind myself that I'm making an U shape with my mouth, and I write a letter E inside the circle just to remind me on lui and refuser that it's that U shape and the E sound that I want. So I'll just do that second bit again. Et c'est bien. Now we'll talk about that in a second. The only other thing I wanted to say about that phrase was you've got a nice smooth vowel onset there, so make sure there's no hint of an you don't want the glottal sound. If you're struggling to do a smooth vowel onset, just put the tiniest little H on the front of it. That gets your air flowing and it gives you a nice supported sound for the vowel when it starts. Breath-wise, c'est bien en vain qu'on l'appelle. Breath because you've got to rest, but a good one because then you've got what's called the portando or the portamento, you'd call it in Italian. And it means to carry the voice, and it's marked in the music as what looks like a bridge between the two notes, which is exactly what it is. It's carrying the voice between the notes. So it's where you slide between the notes, but it has to have some sort of reason. It's not just an empty gesture musically. And in Carmen's case, it's just, I think, her overt sexuality is just one of the things that gives this aria its, charged quality that it has. So you need to take a huge breath because you're not going to get a breath in the place that you would expect to because of that portando that's there. So you've got si lui convient de refuser, rien n'y fait. Then you can take a breath there after fait. So when we do this to speed or closer to speed, it's easier than when we're doing it slowly. So it may be that we have to take some extra breaths while we're learning, but let's try not to. So if I go from si lui convient again, si lui convient de refuser, rien n'y fait. And then the text is rien n'y fait menace ou prière, l'un parle bien and l'autre se tait. So if we just look at that, so assuming we've done the portando, rien n'y fait menace ou prière, l'un parle bien. Now I would grab a breath after bien while we're learning. There is a comma there, so it's okay to do it. L'autre se tait. And the reason is there's another one of those portandos coming up, and you really need to learn how to do those without stopping and taking breaths there. It's almost like they're the places that you absolutely cannot take a breath. So you have to work out where else you could take one if you needed it when we get up to speed. So that would be where mine would be after fe. Rien ni fe, breath. Mana suppriera, breath. La pala bien. And after the bien, breath. L'autre c'était. And then c'est l'autre, breath if you need it. Que je préfère. Il n'a rien dit, mais il me plaît. And then fortunately, you've got a couple of longish rests so you can really tank up there. So it's a hard aria to break down because so many of the phrases carry on one to another. So I'm actually just going to go back to s'il lui convient because I want to run through those two groups of two phrases. So, s'il lui convient. S'il lui convient de refuser, rien n'y fait, menace ou prière, la parle bien, l'autre se tait. C'est l'autre que je préfère, il n'a rien dit, mais il me plaît. Dynamically, I think you just have to follow how the music feels. The only really marked dynamic is piano at the beginning. And I think that's partly because Carmen I think she spotted Don Jose and she's already making her move on him. And like I said earlier on, she's a bit like a cat. So I think she's kind of creeping up on him. So she doesn't explode onto the scene with loud singing. She's really quite quiet at the beginning. And also that helps you to conserve breath. The phrases kind of determine the dynamics. When you do, s'il lui convient de refuser, rien n'y fait. And so you're loud there, and then naturally you just want to go quieter. Menace ou prière, la parle bien, l'autre se tait. C'est l'autre que je préfère, il n'a rien dit, mais il me plaît. So again, you go quieter and it stays really quite quiet until the end of that section. So that's our first whole section done, I think. Then we modulate and we've got the famous l'amour, l'amour section. L'amour, l'amour. So l'amour, ooh. It's more of an ooh sound than oh. L'amour, l'amour, l'amour. And then you've got the next section. So 1, 2, 3, 4 iterations of l'amour. And I think, you just need to find different vocal colours for these. I think, she's just such a sexy woman that she's kind of... I think that's what colours her sound. But you could think of other iterations of love if you wanted to help colour your voice differently for each one so that they don't all just sound the same. Now, next section. L'amour est enfant de bohème. So here, l'amour est enfant de bohème. Bohème, the m part is a weak syllable, but I've actually added a note in there so that I can actually feel where the m goes. In my copy, it becomes joined up to the next word, and if I do it that way, I lose my sense of where the rhythm is. So I've just added an extra note so that I can sing Bohème, il n'a jamais, jamais connu de loi. So, but there's no breath there. It has to go through. After Bohème, il n'a jamais, you could take one after the first jamais, jamais connu de loi. So you've got two repeated words, never, never. So you can grab a quick breath between the two jamais, or you can just point that comma so that we hear that it's never, never. Just like you would in your own first language. You wouldn't say never, never, probably. You'd say never, never knew a law. Yeah, it's just a little pointing thing, I think. And again, we're quiet. So I'll just sing through this section. 1, 2, 1. L'amour est enfant de bohème, il n'a jamais, jamais connu de loi. Connu, again, is that funny U sound. Anything else to tell you in that? I think that's all fairly straightforward. Loi, it's like oua, loi. I think the thing you need to remember when you're having a go at French is that if you watch a French movie, if French isn't your first language and you haven't any experience of French, but you watch French people speaking, you'll see how much they move their mouths more than certainly lazy English speakers such as myself. So if you work a little bit harder at your mouth shapes, that will actually help you to get some of those French sounds. So loi is one of them. It looks like loi, very lazy, but to get the right sound, loi, just getting your mouth much more mobile, loi, will help you to find the right sound. Now then, next bit. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. So that's the bit where she's saying, if you do not love me and I love you, you better beware. So if I sing that one for you. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, you can grab a breath there. Je t'aime, si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. And then another breath after prends garde à toi. Same text. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, breath. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Mais si je t'aime, si je t'aime, breath, prends garde à toi. So, in your copy, you'll see that there are those little pauses marked. They look like an eyebrow with a dot inside them. And it's very specific where Bizet wanted those pauses to be. So you might hear recordings and it just sounds like it's all quite made up. And it is supposed to feel like that, but actually it's very carefully structured. So, so the first one is on the thème. Si je t'aime. So the te is the one that has the pause. Breath. Prends garde. And it's on the second note of garde after the ornament. Garde à toi. And toi is the longest note we've had in the aria so far. It's a minim tied to a quaver. So that makes that a long note. And there's a crescendo as you go through that as well. So this is the high point of the aria so far, dynamically and emotionally, I suppose. So if I go from Mais si je t'aime, breath, si je t'aime, prends garde really good breath after tema because it stays louder there. And for me, certainly it's low in the voice using heaps and heaps of air. So I really need to manage my breath really, really well in order to get through those lower phrases. Now, next we have essentially the next verse. So we're starting here again. So it's that tune again. This is a really, really long phrase. There's no punctuation in it. It doesn't mean you can't breathe, but ideally you wouldn't. So text-wise, we've got one. L'oiseau que tu croyais se prendre battit de l'aile s'envola. Then you've got your first breath. Now, if you're going to speed, l'oiseau que tu croyais se prendre battit de l'aile s'envola. It's kind of doable. If you need to grab a breath, where would it be? Let me just have a look. L'oiseau que tu croyais se prendre battit de l'aile s'envola. It would probably be after se prendre and before battit. It's not great, but it's not awful. So you've got that ua sound to manage on that D. So it means that you just have to pitch the la, u, a, all on the D. L'oiseau que tu croyais se prendre battit de l'aile s'envola. L'aile s'envola. Sans. Again, it's just one of those French sounds that if you think of the N, sometimes I put some of those N's in brackets in my score. So S-E-N, son, it looks like son. And if you just imagine that the N kind of gets stuck halfway down your nose and doesn't quite come out, that gives you the right sound. S'envola. L'amour est loin, tu peux l'attendre, tu ne l'attends plus, il est là. So plus il est là if you were singing it through there, but if you're going to take a breath after plus, you wouldn't put the S on. So you would sing, tu ne l'attends plus, il est là, and again, you're going to need the breath after plus. I think, I certainly do, because of the portandos that are about to start again. So let's just look at that section. I'll just actually start from the beginning of that section. Again, it's quiet. L'oiseau que tu croyais se prendre battit de l'aile s'envola. L'amour est loin, tu peux l'attendre, tu ne l'attends plus, il est là, tout autour de toi, vite, vite. So text there, tout autour de toi, vite, vite. Quick, quick. So again, it's just a case of pointing the comma, I think, between the two quicks. But not a breath because you've got the opportunity for a breath after the second vita. Anything else to tell you about that? I don't think so. Again, just knowing where your tones and semitones are can be extraordinarily helpful. The portando between la, I'll talk a little bit actually, since we've stopped there, about the portandos. And the thing with them is, if you imagine, you're going to do a crescendo as you do it, which is partly what helps to engage your support, but it's your support being engaged that gets you up that octave or whatever it is, jump. It is an octave there. La, So you really need to feel your core muscles engaged as you rise up. And I think if you just imagine a crescendo, la, tu, and then you can back off again. Tu, 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 de, tua, vita, vita. But if you do the quite a forceful crescendo as you slide up, that will give you the support that you need to actually get there. And just remember that it's not just an empty musical gesture, it's supposed to mean something. So for Carmen, it's her moving in maybe on Jose to, get him into her clutches. She really is desperate for him to notice her. And actually he's busy making something for his uniform or polishing a medal or something. I can't remember what he's doing. Making something for his medal to hang on, or his epaulet or something. And he's really quite engrossed in what he's doing, or, well, that's what we're supposed to believe. I think it will be hard to imagine that he would not have noticed Carmen, but there we are. Suspension of disbelief in opera at all times. Now then, il vient, s'en va, puis il revient is the next bit of text. So we've done tout autour de toi, vite, vite. Il vient, s'en va. You can grab a breath. Puis il revient. Tu crois le tenir, il t'évite. Tu crois l'éviter, il te tient is the next chunk of text. So let's have a go. So this is il vient, s'en va. Il vient, s'en va, breath. Puis il revient. Tu crois le tenir, breath. Il t'évite. Tu crois l'éviter. Il te tient. And again, tient is a slightly longer note than we've had so far. Again, it's just Carmen being Carmen. I don't think there's anything much else to say. It's not kind of a deeply emotional aria in any way, or even hugely philosophical. It's just Carmen being Carmen, really. So no dynamic, great contrast, because there's no great change of emotion in the song at all. It just is really about her physical presence. And then we have the l'amour section again, l'amour, so nothing really different there other than find ways to colour your voice differently. Think about different iterations of love perhaps and what love means to you. And then we have again, l'amour est enfant de bohème. And again, that one, it's got the thing to go through. L'amour est enfant de bohème. You could take a breath after Emma if you're going to put that extra note in like I do. L'amour est enfant de bohème. Il n'a jamais connu de loi. Loi again. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. Prends garde à toi, of course, is the call to action, the call to arms. So that's always a little bit more forceful. And she's kind of, I think, sort of making fun of him, really. She's not very nice. Carrying on. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. So again, the ornament there, t'aime. The emphasis is really on the first part, t'aime, but it's almost just like a little hiccup. It's not an important note, but the emphasis is on that syllable, if that makes sense. So you get off the ornament quickly to make that so that the ornament is the shortest note. What else can I tell you? Si tu ne m'aimes pas, I don't think you'll need a breath there. You'll probably want to point the comma because you've got a rest after je t'aime. So you probably won't need to take another breath after tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. I can't even remember whether I did or not. Let's just have a look at it again. So from si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. No, you won't need a breath there. Take your breath after the first si tu ne m'aimes pas. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Mais si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. So this is the absolute high point of the aria, and I think she is finally yelling to him to notice her because he's still busy doing whatever it is he's doing. And I suppose that emphasizes his innocence in all this. He actually has a very lovely girlfriend from the village that he was brought up in. They were brought up together as children, and she's absolutely lovely, and they're set to marry, and Carmen of course gets in the middle of all that and causes devastation and destruction. And I think the fact that he doesn't notice her just speaks volumes of the kind of person that he is. If only he'd carried on doing what he was doing a bit longer, it might have had a happier ending. Mais si je t'aime, si je t'aime, breath, prends garde. So the guard on the F sharp is the one that has the pause on it. À toi. And then quite an abrupt finish, actually. So for the God, pitch the G on the F sharp, open up wide into the R space, and that will give you the nice forceful sound that you're looking for. And then you just need to quickly lift the voice off the breath. So keeping the air flowing, lifting your voice off so that you finish toi, just on that kind of feeling of upswing rather than toi and not knowing how to end it. Toi! So it carries on ringing in the room. It's just about having fun with this one now and embracing the spirit of Carmen. Whether you like her or not, at this point, you have to present her without judgment. Like, opera's a funny one, isn't it? Like, we all know what's going to happen at the end, but we need to present her in such a way that there isn't the portent of doom just yet. So anything that you can do in preparing the aria and performing it that helps you to get into that feeling of just this passionate free spirit. So, you know, dressing up, she flings herself around the stage in most productions because she's desperate for Jose to notice her. So she kind of, you know, uses whatever props are available to her to enhance her natural assets, shall we say. So I think if you can just have some fun embracing that, find a couple of props that you might be able to use just to really help you to embody that spirit of just doesn't care actually about what people think of her. And that's not a bad thing to embrace, I would say. Favourite part now, it's the sing-along. I'm still going to keep it a little bit on the reserved side. It's one of those funny ones actually. It's often easier a little bit faster, but I'll try and just keep it a little bit reined in because of the language actually, which is the hard part. So here we go. enjoyed learning the habanera with me today, please do all the liking and subscribing things and leave comments. I love hearing from you and hearing what you're up to. If you've sung this before or if you're going to have a crack at it, let me know how you go with it. And as always, let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to put on the list of things to do for the channel.